What's up, chat? Um, still 118.26. Just continue to read. We'll do another 20 minutes. All right. Essentially, this makes the unemployment index less significant to investors who are looking toward the economic future. However, several months of low unemployment rates can signal that higher inflation is right around the corner. The housing the housing indicator measures starts The housing starts indicator measures the new construction of single-family homes or buildings each month. For the purpose of this survey, each individual house and every single apartment count as one housing start. A building with 150 apartments counts as 150 housing starts. There is an index for everything, including the one that measures the leading economic indicators, called the LEI, which per, purports purport purport appear or claim to do something especially false. The, the meaning or substance of something, typically a document or speech. Purports to predict future. Which purports to predict future economic activity. Basically, when the LEI moves in the same direction for 3 consecutive months, that suggests an economic turning point. For example, 3 positive readings in a row could indicate a impending recovery. Why are housing starts important? The housing industry represents more than 25% of total investment dollars and about 5% of the total economy. As per US Census Bureau, declining housing starts indicate a slumping economy. Increases in housing activity can help turn the tide and put the economy on the road to recovery. As monthly running total of how well companies are selling their products, business investors are like big neon sign economists and investors alike. The business inventory data the business inventory data are collected from 3 sources: manufacturing, merchant wholesalers, retail reports. Retail inventories are the most volatile component of in inventories and can cause major swings. A sudden fall in inventories may show the one set of expansion, and sudden accumulation of inventories may signify falling demand and hence the onset of recession. The Producer Price Index (PPI), also put out by the BLS, tracks wholesale price changes. It includes breakdowns on raw materials, aka commodities, intermediate goods, in items that are in productions, and finished goods ready to hit the shelves. Every month, nearly 100,000 prices are collected from approximately 30,000 manufacturing and production companies and manufacturing businesses. This coincident indicator is often a good predictor of the CPI. The producer price index is often a good indicator predictor of the direction of the CPI. Consumer, hold on, what is the CPI? Consumer price index. The factor they use to increase Social Security payments. So the producer price index is a good way to predict where the CPI, consumer price index, producer price, consumer price, corresponding. Okay. Sectors. Sorting out industries. Anyone beginning to learn about investing will soon hear the phrase sector rotation. Different types of industries perform better during specific stages in the economic cycle. For example, some industries will take off when the economy is expanding, while others actually profit more when the economy is in a slump. That means that investors can always find a way to profit in the markets as long as they know where to look. To capitalize on sector rotation, you first need to get a handle on the sectors themselves. Essentially, a sector is a unique industry group. A lot of people, including financial professionals, use the terms sector and industry interchangeably, but they aren't really the same. Industry describes a specific set of businesses, while sector is a broader term. In fact, a sector is technically a broad section of the overall economy and can include more than one industry. For example, the financial sector includes banking, investment banking, mortgages, accounting, insurance, and asset management. Six distinct industries. Where in the cycle are we? You'll need to know at which point in the cycle the economy currently stands: downturn, recession, upturn, or recovery. You can find current economic analysis in the most big financial newspapers such as the Wall Street Journal. You can also find detailed information on the state of the U.S. economy from the Bureau of Economic Analysis at www.bea.gov. Once you know where the economy is, you can better predict where it's going to go from there. Even if you can't predict the timing, that's because the economic cycle follows a very defined pattern. For example, when the economy is in a deep recession, the next phase of the cycle will be an upturn. A very good time to begin investing more actively. Knowledge that knowledge combined with a grasp of sector rotation can help you profit regardless of the prevailing economic state. You can invest in sector funds. You can diversify your portfolio and take advantage of sector rotation by investing in sector funds. These mutual funds invest in single economic sectors like technology or healthcare, and sometimes even more focused sector subsets like electronics or pharmaceuticals. While sector funds expose investors to more risk than broad-based mutual funds, they can also bring higher returns. We'll discuss this more in the section on mutual funds. Sector rotation describes the movement of profitability through different sectors as the economy goes through its cycles. Different sectors thrive in different proportions of the cycle. The basic sectors are highly predictable, following the economic cycle like clockwork. For example, the utilities and services sectors tend to perform well during for example, the utilities and service sectors tend to perform well during an economic downturn, and as that downturn she, seeks Segue, an uninterrupted transition from one piece to another. Okay. As that downturn segues into a full recession, the technology since cycloless what the cycle cycle well, what the fuck cyclicals stocks and cyclical companies whose those whose success varies in the economic or okay cyclicals okay cyclicals full recession full recession the technology cyclicals and industrial sectors will start to flourish. Wait. For example, the utilities and services sectors tend to perform well during an economic downturn, and as that downturn segues into a full recession, the technology, cyclicals, and industrial sectors will start to flourish as the economy begins to turn towards recovery. Basic materials and energy perform the best. This is important. This is important. This is important. Okay. Okay. Utilities and services sectors perform well during economic downturn. As the downturn segues into full recession, technology cyclicals and industrial sectors start to flourish. Okay. As the economy begins to turn towards recovery, basic materials and energy perform best. In a full thriving economy, the consumer staples sector will really take off. So if you know what stage the economy is in now, you know where in the cycle it will be going next, and you can reasonably predict which sectors will prosper. Okay, find out what sec- sector, economic sector, economic sector you are currently in to make investment. Okay, an index for everything. Financial professionals look Financial professionals look to benchmarks to measure just how well or poorly Financial professionals look to benchmarks to measure just how well or poorly their investments are doing. These benchmarks are known as indexes and they cover every sector of the financial markets, from small cap stocks to emerging nation bonds. Most of these indexes consist of a group or sample of representative investments that indicate how the overall market or segment of the market is performing. Some widely used indexes track thousands of individual securities, while others look at fewer than 50. The Dow Jones Industrial Average (DJIA), also called the Dow, is the most is the most prominent stock index in the world. It was named after Charles H. Dow, the first editor of the Wall Street Journal, and his one-time partner Edward Jones. Although Jones was not industri- industri- instrumental in the creating the index. Dow's creation revolutionized investing as it was the first publicly published gauge of the market. The 30 stocks on the Dow, which are a part of the New York Stock Exchange (NYSE), are all of are all those of established blue chip companies like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, DuPont, and Eastman Kodak. The Dow was created to mimic the U.S. stock market as a whole, and its companies represent a variety of market segments such as entertainment, automotive, healthcare products, and financial services. Okay, blue chip. 30 stocks on the Dow. What 30 stocks, brother? General Electric. General Electric is the only company that was included. Bro, this shit from the piss me off. Stop. General Electric is the only company that was included in the original Dow Jones Industrial Average, created in 1896, that is still a part of its makeup today. However, it hasn't been there the entire time. General Electric was dropped in 1898, restored in 1899, and taken out again in 1901, and put back on the list in 1907. The only company, General Electric, was the only company that was included on the original Dow Jones Industrial Average. 30 stocks of the Dow Jones companies are by weighted weighed 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 by stock price rather than market capitalization, which is how most indexes are weighed. Basically, the Dow number of stocks is the number of stocks included in the index adjusted for stock splits. The important point to remember is that each company carries equal right weight. 30 stocks of the Dow Jones Industrial Average companies are weighed by stock price rather than market capitalization, which is how most indexes are weighed. Basically, the Dow number is calculated by adding up the prices of all the stocks and dividing by the number of stocks included in the index. Adjusted for stock splits, the important point is to remember that each company carries equal weight. Some indexes are capitalization weighed, giving greater weight to stocks with greater market value. For example, consider Standard and Poor S&P Compact Index of 500 stocks. The Standard and Poor 500 Index, commonly known as the SP 500, is a benchmark that is widely used by professional stock investors. The S&P 500 represents 500 stocks, 400 industrial stocks, 20 transportation stocks, 40 utility stocks, 40 financial stocks. The index consists of primarily of stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange, although it features some over-the-counter OTC stocks. The Russell 2000 index covered converse covers the small the Russell 2000 index covers the small cap equities market, so it tracks corporations that fall into the small cap segment of the market, those with market capitalization falling between 300 million and following the performance of only 2,000 smallest companies in the Russell 3000. Okay. I'm reading this book. Okay, I'm reading this book to gain financial freedom, create good spending habits, good saving habits, and to prepare myself for the years to come and be financially responsible.